Today, we're diving into a letter that's about 2,000 years old, written to a community that was seriously on the verge of collapse. They were getting hit with attacks from the outside for sure, but the real danger? It was a rumor that was spreading on the inside. Basically, a piece of ancient fake news that was threatening to tear down everything they believed in. So let me ask you this, just to get right to the heart of the matter. Imagine you've been waiting your entire life for one single world-changing event, and then you hear a rumor that you just slept through it, that it's already over and you were left behind. Well, that wasn't just some bad dream. This was the very real fear that was absolutely haunting the church in ancient Thessalonica. So this community was really caught between a rock and a hard place. On one side, they were facing some intense persecution from the world around them, and on the other, they were wrestling with this deeply unsettling rumor coming from within their own ranks. Yeah, the letter makes it clear this was no picnic. They were enduring some serious persecutions and tribulations. But here's the crazy part, right? It's like a plant pushing its way up through concrete. Paul says their faith groweth exceedingly. All that pressure was somehow, incredibly, making them even stronger.
So how does Paul deal with all their suffering? I mean, what do you say? Well, he doesn't just offer up some simple platitudes like, hey, it'll all be okay. No. Instead, he delivers this powerful message of hope that's totally grounded in the promise of ultimate, divine justice.
And you gotta love where he starts. Before he corrects anyone, before he teaches anything, he just praises them. He actually tells them that he brags about their patience and faith to all the other churches. He's letting them know, I see you, I see what you're going through, and it's amazing. And then, right after that, he connects the dots between their present suffering and their future vindication. He's completely reframing their reality. This isn't just pointless pain. He's telling them it's a critical chapter in a much bigger story, a story that ends with justice. Now, that promise of future justice was meant to calm their fears, but it leads him right into tackling that internal crisis, that nasty rumor we talked about. And right at the center of it all is one of the most mysterious and debated figures in the entire Bible, the man of sin. This was it. This was the rumor that was causing people to be shaken in mind and troubled. Someone, maybe they forged a letter, maybe they claimed to have a prophecy, was spreading this devastating news. The day of the Lord, the big event, had already come and gone. They'd missed it.
Paul's response is so swift and so specific. He basically says, hold on, let no one deceive you. And then he lays out a really clear sequence of events. He insists that day cannot come until two things happen first: a great falling away, some kind of mass apostasy, and then, and only then, the revealing of this man of sin.
So who is this guy? Well, the text itself paints this incredibly chilling picture of ultimate rebellion. This isn't just someone who disagrees with God. This is a usurper. He tries to replace God, going so far as to sit in God's temple and declare that he's the one who deserves worship.
You can almost see the whole story arc right here. On the one hand, you've got his rise to power, and it's huge. It's fueled by Satan with all kinds of deceptive signs and wonders. But then you look at his fall, and it's just as certain and even more dramatic. Paul says he's not defeated in some epic battle. He is simply vaporized, just obliterated by the sheer brightness of the Lord's coming.
Okay, so all this anxiety about the end of the world, it was actually causing some very real-world practical problems. Because some people in the church, believing the end had already come or was literally just moments away, had just stopped working. So Paul lays out this really stark contrast. On one side, you have him and his team working night and day so they wouldn't be a financial burden on anyone. And on the other side, you have this group he calls disorderly, people who weren't working at all, and instead had become busybodies just meddling in everyone else's business. And his solution is, well, it's famously blunt. He just reminds them of a command he gave them when he was there in person. If anyone is unwilling to work, they shouldn't eat. It's a sharp, no-nonsense principle designed to get things back in order and restore a sense of personal responsibility. So after dealing with the outside attacks and the inside chaos, Paul starts to bring the letter to a close, and he circles right back to his main goal, to encourage this troubled church and hopefully leave them with a sense of real peace. He basically boils all his advice down to two essential actions, and each one is a direct answer to their problems. To fight the internal rumor, he says stand fast, hold on tight to the truth you were taught. And to fight the external persecution and the temptation to just give up, he says be not weary in well-doing. In other words, just keep going, don't quit.
And this is how he closes. Not with another warning, not with another rule, but with a blessing. It's a prayer that the Lord of peace himself would give them peace. And not just sometimes, but always, and not just in some situations, but by all means. It is the perfect, reassuring comfort for a community that desperately needed it.
So we're left with this letter, written for a very specific crisis 2,000 years in the past. But you know, in a world that is still wrestling with misinformation, anxiety about what the future holds, and that constant pressure to just give up, Paul's ancient advice feels surprisingly fresh, doesn't it? Stand firm in the truth, don't get tired of doing good, and seek peace. The real question is, how do we live that out today?